Welcome to section 9.3, part 2. This is the 73rd session of the CISSP exam prep series. This part continues our tour of hardware, turning now to memory and storage. In this session, we'll map the memory hierarchy and the risks that come with it. We'll answer several questions. What is read-only memory and its programmable cousins? What is random access memory? And how do dynamic and static differ? What are registers and the addressing schemes that reach memory? How does secondary and virtual memory extend the system? How do we classify storage devices? And what memory security issues must you guard against? Why does this matter beyond the exam? Because sensitive data leaves fingerprints in memory and on drives long after you think it is gone. Picture a law firm retiring a batch of laptops. If the drives are handed off without proper wiping, privileged client files can walk out the door. On the job, you decide how data is held, refreshed, and destroyed. Understanding the physical media is what lets you protect the secrets living inside it. So what is read-only memory and its programmable cousins? Read-only memory holds contents the system can read, but not change, burned in at the factory. It often carries the startup instructions a machine runs before loading its operating system, and its unchangeable nature makes it ideal for those innermost workings. But there is a family that can be written to. A basic programmable chip lets the end user burn in the contents once, after which it is locked. An ultraviolet erasable version can be wiped clean with a special light and reused. An electrically erasable version uses voltage on its pins to erase. And flash memory grows from that last idea, erasing and rewriting in blocks rather than single bytes, which is why it powers memory cards, thumb drives, and solid-state drives. Think of stone tablets that graduate to chalkboards. Some you carve once, some you wipe with light, and some you erase a whole section at a time. What is random access memory? And how do dynamic and static differ? Random access memory is readable and writable working memory that holds what the computer needs while processing. It is volatile, so when power drops, everything in it vanishes, which is why critical data must always have a backup elsewhere. Main memory is the large pool of it, and small ultra-fast caches sit closer to the processor to speed repeated access. Underneath, two types compete. Dynamic memory stores bits in tiny capacitors that leak charge, so the processor must constantly refresh them. Static memory uses switch-like circuits that hold their state without refresh, running faster but costing more. Designers blend the two to balance speed against price. Think of a cheap whiteboard whose ink fades unless you keep retracing it, versus a costly one that stays crisp on its own. What are registers and the addressing schemes that reach memory? Registers are a tiny bank of memory built right into the processor, feeding its arithmetic and logic unit at full processor speed. To reach data elsewhere, the processor uses addressing schemes. Register addressing points at one of those onboard registers. Immediate addressing supplies the value right inside the instruction. Direct addressing names the exact memory location to use. Indirect addressing gives an address that holds another address, so the processor follows the pointer to the real data. And base plus offset addressing starts from an address in a register and adds an offset to compute the final spot. One caution here. A pointer that ends up null or corrupted, sometimes through a race condition where two operations collide, can crash the whole system. Think of directions to a house. You might be handed the address itself, or a note saying the address is written on a card at another location. How does secondary and virtual memory extend the system? Secondary memory is your longer-term storage, the magnetic, optical, and flash media that the processor cannot touch directly. To use that data, the operating system first reads it into working memory. Virtual memory is a clever trick that stretches the addressable space using a swap file on disk. When the system needs data that has been paged out, it pulls it back from disk into real memory, a process called paging. The catch is speed, because that disk exchange is slow. More physical memory reduces the need for it, and fast flash media softens the penalty when it happens. Think of a small desk with an overflow filing cabinet behind you. You keep swapping folders between the two, and the reach behind you always costs a moment. How do we classify storage devices? 3 simple contrasts capture it. Primary storage is the working memory kept close to the processor, while secondary storage is the long-term media like drives, tapes, and disks. Volatile devices lose their contents when power is cut. while non-volatile ones retain data through a power loss. And random access media let you jump straight to any location by address, while sequential media, like a magnetic tape, force you to pass everything before the spot you want. Think of the difference between flipping straight to any page in a book versus fast-forwarding through a cassette to reach one song. What memory security issues must you guard against? Memory and storage hold your secrets, so they need deliberate handling at end of life. Any device that might retain sensitive data should be purged before it ever leaves your control. And this is especially true for storage, media, and the read-only memory family designed to keep data through power loss. The danger is not limited to disks. Even volatile working memory can briefly hold its charge after shutdown, and a skilled attacker can try to recover it. That is the idea behind a cold boot attack, which freezes memory chips to slow the fade of resident data and lift secrets like encryption keys. Think of a whiteboard that seems erased but still shows a ghost of the writing if you catch it in the right light. So let's bring it together. Read-only memory is fixed, while its programmable family, up through flash, trades some permanence for the ability to rewrite. Random access memory is fast but volatile, split into leaky, dynamic, and steady static forms. Registers feed the processor directly, and addressing schemes route it to the data it needs. Secondary and virtual memory extend capacity at the cost of speed, and storage divides along primary versus secondary, volatile versus non-volatile, and random versus sequential. Above all, purge sensitive media before release, because data lingers where you least expect it. The MCQs covering all the topics and concepts from this session are available on rucloud.com. Practice the chapter-specific MCQs before moving on to the next session. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or feedback, post a comment below or email us. I will see you in the next session.